The Hair Voyage podcast is here for beauty professionals, multi-passionate, entrepreneurial-minded, and interdisciplinary artists. We know you, we see you, and we love you. Hair Voyage is here to expand beauty education. We're sourcing information from different industries in order to support, inspire, and create community that cares for beauty professionals. We're here to propel you forward, integrating your passions and your desires into your beauty business. I'm Mary Alice, and we are on the Hair Voyage podcast. And today we have Alexandra with us, and she is in Boston. Is that correct?
Yep, I'm in Boston.
I can't wait to go to Boston, but she's in Boston, and she's a coach as well as a hairdresser behind the chair, and she's has experience in education, and today that's kind of what we're going to be learning about from Alexandra. So do you want to add any more to your intro? Because I know you're a multifaceted person.
Yeah, no. Hi, everyone. It's so great to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to kind of get into the nitty gritty and talk about everything. I'm happy to tell you like a little bit about my experience, how I came up in the industry, and yeah, we'll take it from there.
Awesome. Yeah. So let's start with your story. Like, so when you started hair school, let's start with that journey. Like, what was your career path like?
Yeah, so I actually started working in salons when I was 14. And so I grew up in Maryland. And in Maryland, the laws are a little bit different than Massachusetts. So you could work as an assistant without your license. Wow. So I was like shampooing, toning, glazing, neutralizing perms, like doing all that stuff, which knowing what I know now, it's crazy that I was doing all that because I didn't necessarily understand, all the whys behind it, but I could follow instructions. And so I got a lot of training then. And at the time I knew I loved the industry. I mean, I literally remember going to the salon with my mom when I was a kid and I was begging to work at the salon. They're like, you're not old enough. And so as soon as I was legally able to get a job working there, I did. And then, it was a really wonderful salon, but at that time I just didn't see it as a viable career. And so I came up to Boston to go to college. I went to Northeastern University. And interestingly enough, I started out as a psychology major, but then I ended up graduating with a degree in communications. But the whole time I was in school, I got a part-time job at a salon in the city working as a receptionist since I couldn't assist. So it kind of gave me a behind the scenes of every job in the salon because I had assisted and then I worked at the front desk. So it gave me a really good understanding of the business. And then after that, I decided to pursue a career. And that's when I ended up going to hair school.
That's amazing. I love that you had kind of a full circle there too. That's so cool. And it makes so much sense to me of like how all of those things would come together for what you're doing now. That's so awesome. So yeah, so now you're using those. Let's talk about how that's kind of unfolded.
Yeah, definitely. So I went to hair school at Paul Mitchell in Tampa, which shout out to Paul Mitchell. I think they have such a fantastic education program. I always say they're like the Ivy League of hair schools. They really do prepare their students. But even being in hair school, having worked at salons, I felt, like I already had that real life experience. And a lot of that experience was around, how to communicate with clients. And to be quite frank, like I saw the difference in how clients communicated with the different people in the salon, right? So like as an assistant, as a front desk, they never spoke to their stylist the way that they spoke to people at the front desk. I don't know if you've experienced that, but that was a really big eye-opening for me. And then, on the flip side of that, when I became a stylist, I knew that. And so it helped me communicate effectively with all of my coworkers because I knew that people were getting treated differently for different reasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I have the good fortune of working at an incredible salon in Matt Stylists on Newberry Street, where the owner Marissa has like an incredible education program and is fantastic in education. So I've had the benefit of having so much education over the years. And something that I've just kind of observed is that going to all of these classes, so much of the education is focused on technical skills, which is so important, but there's not enough emphasis on the kind of soft skills, if you will, on the communication. And so that's kind of how my coaching program evolved.
I love that so much because as we've been building our business at Hair Voyage, there's so much we realize that, you know, this is a connection-based industry, which we all know when we go into it. And then that's just so much of the work is just the connection, right? And that's a lot of the reason why people are in it or are drawn to it in the first place. So I love that you really zoned in on that and that you can help people with that because I think we all communication and connection is so fascinating to me because we all learn so differently based on our history, our stories, our families, our environment. And yeah, like you said, that can just make such a difference and in the trajectory of how and who you meet and all kinds of little impacts throughout just one day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think because so many people are drawn to this industry because of connection, I think that's almost one of the things that makes it so challenging, right? Because you want to connect with your clients, and usually the way that people connect is over personal information. You
Yeah.
know, when you meet someone, it's like you want to know where did they come from, like what's their background, and that's how you get to know somebody and like their story. But that becomes challenging when you're also cultivating a business relationship
Yes.
because
Yes.
the lines can get really blurry. And
Mhm.
so people want to connect. And so they do it by sharing so much personal stuff. And then when it comes time for a business transaction, challenges can arise,
Oh my gosh, yeah. With
you know?
with charging, with even conflict if
Yeah,
they're like if they don't want to tell you that they didn't like this one
I
piece
was
of their hair.
totally. Yeah, like they're afraid to tell you they don't like their hair when it's not personal, you know? But yeah, there can be a lot of challenges that arise. And so what I've found is that you can have healthy personal relationships with clients without sharing too much of your personal life,
I
like
love that.
without getting too personal.
This is boundary work right here.
Yeah, it's huge. And it's healthier for both the stylist and the client, you know, because then the client can feel comfortable saying, "Oh, hey, you know, this wasn't exactly how I wanted it," not thinking like, "Oh, I'm going to hurt their feelings."
Yes.
You know, and you can have those quote unquote difficult conversations knowing that you're in a safe space and not going to hurt the other person's feelings, because at the end of the day, it is a business,
Yeah.
you know, and while it's a personal business, and of course we care so deeply about our clients, you have to have exactly that level of boundary.
And this is one of the things we're so passionate about is creating sustainability for beauty professionals. And I think that this is one of the key things because, like you were saying, it's better for the stylist and the client, but it's also better for the whole salon and the industry when one person has more sustainability or has better boundaries. It's really helping everyone because then the standards are changing and it's just, you know, like even if it's a client saying, I want to be platinum blonde, and you have the boundaries or the communication to say, you know, take them on a journey through really unpacking that. And then you find out that would actually be a bad choice for them for whatever reasons, their hair, their mental health, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
their price, like their budget,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly, the
reason.
expectations.
Yeah. So I love like how do you when you get a client that's new to kind of where do you even start because this is so big.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, it starts for sure with the consultation, you know, and it starts with everything from, you know, how you greet them, your body language. I always say that you have to lead with a compliment.
Mm,
And the key to that is having it be authentic, right? So when I say lead with a compliment, it doesn't mean you're making something up or being not authentic. you're just looking at a person you've just met and finding something that stands out on them that you want to acknowledge, right? So whether it's, you know, a personal feature, if it's like you like their bag or their shoes or something to compliment, because that always kind of like releases a little bit of a barrier.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know,
it helps them feel seen.
totally. And then the biggest thing from there is mirroring body language. You know, and I've had clients who, you know, people have had challenging experiences at different salons. And if they've had their hair done and not liked it or had a bad experience, they're coming in with a lot of insecurities, vulnerabilities. I mean, on some level, it's like a PTSD experience for them, where, you know, they're really nervous about what's about to happen. And so I've had people who, you know, I'll, you know, invite them over to my chair and they stay standing. And so I stay standing while we talk, right? And then until they're comfortable, then I say, you know, let's take a seat. And then I also sit down on a stool so that we can be eye to eye, making eye contact. And I think that until you're ready to stand up and start actually looking at their hair, the initial part of the consultation should be made eye level eye contact, not talking through the mirror, because that's how you start to establish a real connection with people. And then the other key thing is I always ask permission before I touch somebody's hair.
Oh yeah, I love that.
You know, like I never just dive in and start digging through someone's hair. I always have an entire consultation first, you know, eye to eye, and then I ask permission if I can touch their hair, and then I proceed from there.
Yeah, I think that's so important, and really special, especially even just starting over. Like I'm thinking of clients that I've had, and they already know that I already know I have this like kind of unspoken permission, but it's really important even to just revisit that and just each day is a new day. You still need to. I should still ask.
Mm-hmm.
That's trust building because it's that's consent. It's still someone's body.
Right, exactly. And to your point, it's like there's an understanding because of course I'm doing your hair. I have to touch it, right? But I think establishing that kind of baseline respect, it really helps to allow the client to feel at ease and to feel trust and safe in that space.
Yeah, yeah. And honored, totally. That's beautiful.
Mm.
That's great. So when a stylist comes to you um, for and just up leveling
Mm-hmm.
around the communication, do you just kind of start unpacking like you ask them like how do you start your consultations, or do you ask them if they're having specific challenges? Because I think sometimes people don't really know, might not know where their blockages are.
I absolutely agree. And it's like everything, right? Like I always say, there's so many similarities between, you know, I have dating and clients, right?
Yeah.
Like it's so easy to look at your friends and be like, oh my gosh, how are you making those decisions? Like, duh, did you not see that red flag? But sometimes when you're in the shoes, like you can't see your own exactly, you know, where your pain points are necessarily. And so when I start working with someone in a coaching way, I actually have them kind of assess, it's everything from mindset all the way through. And so kind of laying out their stress level throughout the day. So what are the things that are, you know, causing you stress or causing you tension? You know, is it when you have a new client? Is it when a client's texting you asking for an appointment? You know, what are the triggers that are making you upset? And then we kind of get to the root of it. Is it talking about price, right? So we work on money mindset because we all have certain beliefs and ideas that we've been kind of raised with about money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to affect then how you communicate your money, your prices to your clients because of the belief set that you have.
Right.
So it's kind of this like interwoven, but it works all the way, like I said, from mindset and forward, working through all of that, because we can't have a conversation about how you're going to increase your prices and how you're going to communicate that to your client if you have a belief that's false.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a belief that's false about money or about your worth or about something like that, then you can't ever have that other conversation because we have to fix what's back there before you can move forward.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's like what you and I were talking about earlier, where it's all connected. So it really is all interwoven, and one piece over here, like money mindset, might actually unclog this other thing that you're stuck on with, like starting to do bigger services or whatever. And I love how the puzzle pieces start to form when you're like when you're learning about things like the mindsets you didn't even know you had.
Oh,
That
absolutely. Yeah, we all have stuff to unpack, you know? And I think a huge part of it is really working through that and knowing, you know, and truly believing your worth and your value, because then you don't have to demand your worth or prove your value,
mm-hmm.
right? You
Mm-hmm.
just show up confidently and
Mm-hmm.
people see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you attract those people because you're just it's not even you don't spend time worrying about like if someone inquires for something that you know is just not going to fit. Whereas I think like early in my career I was just trying to it was a lot of people pleasing. Like I was just like, well, and I was worried about them being, you know, if I don't do this for them, who's going to do it? And I
Mm-hmm.
had so much investment in other people's experience that
Mm-hmm.
I was really diminishing my own experience, and that is not sustainable.
Absolutely. No, it's so true. And I think that that's a learning curve that, I mean, I would venture that all stylists go through
Mm,
because we want to make people happy. That's why we got into what we do, right? Because it feels good to make someone feel good.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, like when you turn someone around in the chair and they're like, ah, you know, I haven't looked this good in years. Like that feels good. And
yes,
so we want to keep giving that to people. And so it's hard to say no. It's hard to say that. But to your point earlier about the platinum blonde, like I would rather tell someone, because we know this as colorists, right? Like if you have black box day on your hair, I'm not making you a platinum blonde. And
mm-hmm,
I always tell people like your hair is going to be on, I can make you a platinum blonde, but your hair is going to be on the floor.
mm-hmm,
So that's not doing much good for either of us, right? So turning someone away for a service that you know they're not the right fit for
mm-hmm,
elevates you.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I like that.
You know, that just elevates you as an expert.
Mm-hmm,
And also I think in addition to, you know, in that regard, you know, knowing it's not the right, but also if you're not the right person for them, you
mm-hmm,
know, there's certain things that I would consider myself like that's my specialty and certain things that aren't. And because of that, I'm comfortable saying, you know, I can find someone that's a better fit for you.
yeah. Yep, and there I think trusting in that someone else was saying to me like a couple of days ago when you say no to those people, you're saying yes to the person that's going to fill the space. And I think when you're
Mm-hmm.
but even before that, you still have to have a little bit of confidence to know like that money mindset to trust that that will happen for you, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's still it's a catch-22 if you're still in like scarcity mode, you're too scared to say no to people in order to create the space for the new people. So in that I think that that's what the key is, because we can hear all these theories all day, but the
Mm-hmm.
key is really having support. And that's why I think coaching is so massively important, because it's someone that has been on the other side and or has been, you know, seen other people go through, so you know like you're holding this space for people. and and just knowing that someone's with you, I think does so much to our ability to move through challenges too.
No, absolutely. Like it's so many levels. It's the accountability. It's having someone objective,
Mm.
and it's, you know, having a good coach. It's like having someone who will kind of like hold your hand and also kick your ass, you know, like
Oh,
call you on the BS when it's there,
yes.
but hold your hand while they're doing it.
Yeah, because your coworkers aren't able to do that, and your friends aren't able to do that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's a unique relationship, right? Like uh,
Absolutely.
you can't expect your friendships to hold that, like, it's a professional space.
Mm-hmm.
What
Yeah.
else?
And
Sorry, go
it's,
ahead.
I was just going to say, it's really valuable. Like we always say, coaches with coaches, right? Like I have coaches and I have people that are in my kind of, what is the word I'm looking for? But in my life, right? Who support me in those areas so that I can continue to support other people.
Oh my gosh, yes, because I just, as you grow and as you, like, your also more challenges keep coming. So it's like you have to keep growing in order to keep supporting people. And
Yeah.
it's just such a flow, which is so funny because I think I used to have this, um, I think when you're in like a scarcity mindset, you're like, when am I going to get to the, like, I don't know, just like a resting place.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what has changed for me and what I mean, I guess I'm still working towards this, but is like giving myself the permission that there's no resting place. Like it's okay to always be in motion, and that, but making peace with those feelings, that
Mm-hmm.
it's always going to feel uncertain.
Mm-hmm.
And that I can change my relationship with that experience. Instead of being scared of that, I can feel excited about the uncertainty of growing.
No, I love that. One of the mantras that I kind of developed over the years was continual growth with always forward motion.
Mm.
And so it's just that idea. It's like you're always moving forward, but you have to always be open to growth because there's never, I mean, it sounds trite, but like there never is a destination. You
Mm.
know, like once you get somewhere, there's the next level to get to. You know, you're at the bottom of another mountain.
Yeah.
And what I can speak to for behind the chair as a stylist and how my career developed, you know, cultivating the skills to create those client relationships is really challenging at first. You know, like I had all my to-dos and all my this with the clients, and I would, you know, and it's really challenging. It's like you're pushing this wheel up the mountain, up the mountain, up the mountain. And it doesn't always stick with everyone. You know, sometimes there are clients that aren't the right fit for you, and it's being okay with that. But then the more you do it, the more you do it, the more that all those things become ingrained in you and become habit. And it's not that you go on autopilot, but it's like working out, you know, comparing it to a muscle, right? Like you're doing the same exercise, but now you're lifting more weight and it's easier. And so it's the same thing. These skills just become ingrained in you, and it becomes easier and easier to do it with your clients, so that all of a sudden, next thing you know, your book is full and you have all these clients that you love and you enjoy and all these healthy relationships. It doesn't mean that you stop evolving. It just means that, you know, the process gets easier every time.
Yeah. I think about that too in like the beginning of when you're building your clientele. And when I was just beginning my career, Instagram was still, it wasn't a tool we were learning in school. And so there was, I think it was like the very end. It was like the end of the
Mm-hmm.
era where you didn't have your personal branding right off the bat, you know? And so when I think
Mm-hmm.
back to that time period when I was working for salons that had lots of walk-in culture, and it was just like you just took whoever, it was such a different experience than when you've cultivated people that, you know, already like your style, because you've already put your style out in the world, and so they found that, they saw that, they liked it. It was such a different experience. And being able to even know that information, you know, is impactful. It's like being the new learner when you're just taking anyone and everyone and you don't know what they're gonna walk in with. It was kind of that
Mm-hmm.
you're just on, you're a new learner, and you have to be ready for anything. Where when you have
Oh yeah.
boundaries, that's so much anxiety.
I know, I'm literally you talking about, because I'm trying to think now. When did Instagram come out? 2010? Is that when it came out?
It must have,
So
yeah.
yes. So I was like behind the chair for 2 or 3 years before Instagram even existed. And then once Instagram existed, it was like people were using it for personal, but then there was those early adapters, right, that were using it. But that was and then there was resistance from people who've been in the industry for so long, but didn't want to get online. Like, we could talk a whole podcast about this, right? But I remember that feeling of having a new client on my book, right? And I'd be like, who did they tell you what they wanted, right? Like, because I was like so scared to cut short hair. So I'd be like, oh my God. And, I would be like looking in the waiting room, like, oh God, is it someone with short hair? Like, is it? And that feeling, like, you say that and I can still, like, every cell of my body is brought back to that fear of being a new stylist and having so much unknown in your day. That is really scary.
So vulnerable, and so, like, you just didn't have a lot of protection because you don't have time to prepare. How can you prepare for that?
Yeah, absolutely. And so much of what we learn, you learn a lot in school. Yes, you learn a lot in education, but so much of what you learn is just by doing. Yeah. And that's really freaking scary. And so when you're juggling that with also, how do you speak to someone? How do you like it's a lot.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, the skill was one thing. So yeah, like you said, you don't know what they're going to come in wanting, or they'll change. Even if they say, oh, it's a full foil, they might come in and say, actually, I want extensions, or you have no idea. Right. But the worst part, I think the scarier part, was like the communication of like, that's basically, so say you have 10 appointments, that's 10 first dates.
Yep. It's a lot.
So much energy. Now
yeah.
Now that I'm spoiled and haven't been in that space, I'm like, me thinking about going on 10 first dates is really
exhausting.
It's just, yeah.
Right. And it's 10 first dates where you're trying to prove yourself, where oftentimes if you're just starting in the industry, you're very young. And so you have people saying like, oh, my kids are older than you, and so you're trying to prove yourself to people, connect with them, prove yourself as a professional. And you're trying to do all that while you're doing their hair.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot.
And be an artist. Like, you're trying
exactly.
to cultivate your own, like, with each person, that's how you're growing your craft. So you're like, let me do this so I can take this perfect picture, and like, you're trying to better yourself. So not only, there's just so many layers to that. And if the communication, so say the conversation was dull or hard, that makes everything else harder.
Absolutely.
Stressed because you're like, we're not vibing, we're not connecting. I don't know if they don't like their hair, they don't like me, right. They don't like the convo. What's happening?
Yeah, and then your mind starts wandering, and that starts making you insecure. So then you start fumbling, and it's like this vicious cycle. It's funny. I wish I remembered. I don't remember. But I remember someone telling a stylist who didn't talk to their clients. They were like, I don't know, he probably charges $1,000 for a haircut and doesn't talk to his clients. And I was like, well, that's because he doesn't have anything interesting to say. Which I'm joking, but I do, it's a balance, because you do have to have a connection with people. Like you said, it's a personal business. You also have to understand them so you can give them hair that suits them. But I do think it's also fair, if you are doing something really technical, to say to your client, like, hey, I need a couple of minutes just to be quiet and really focus right now.
Yeah.
And I think asking for it in that way, that's going to make them respect you. But it's knowing to ask for it in that way, other than just getting really quiet and insecure. If you just say, hey, I need a couple of minutes to really focus. Like, if you're telling someone you really need a couple of minutes to focus on their hair, they're going to be quiet because they want it perfect.
And there's so many artful ways you can create that space. Like, you can offer books, you can offer meditation moments or music or whatever. So you can definitely, it's all about the art of communicating your needs. Because I actually love that example of the guy that charges $1,000 that doesn't even talk to people, because it's like, if that person knows that they're an introvert and that talking to people all day drains them, and they communicate that to their clients, and it's on their website, and I met a stylist that has silent retreats. So she has one day a month where it's just known that if you book on that day, it's going to be a silent retreat where she's only going to talk to you.
That's cool.
And then you're not going to be talking to her either, and no, like it's only her in the space. So she creates that internal experience where you can go there for peace.
I
But it's
love that.
intention. It's not awkwardness. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you think of a stylist not talking to you, that can feel like the devil wears Prada or something, right?
Totally.
Like
Yep.
scary and mean. And
Right. But when you
when you when you communicate the
mm-hmm.
experience or the intention, you have so much more power to create things you need.
Yeah, and what I'll say about that is I think that as a professional, it's your duty to make that space.
Yeah.
Because I think that often clients will feel like they need to talk to you, or, that they don't want that quiet space, or they're afraid to ask for it, that they think if they ask for it, it's rude.
Yeah.
But if you as the professional make that space and make it okay for them to be quiet, then maybe they'll jump at the opportunity. A lot of times, like, that's the 1 to 3 hours that that person gets for themselves that day, or maybe that week or that month.
Yeah.
And that's why I always say, like, how they want to spend that time is up to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm there to make it a safe space for them, but how they want to spend it, whether it's talking, reading, writing, or just being quiet, that's their time and their choice.
I think also being forward, like having your communication clear, sets up these boundaries for people. Because you have, like, going back to when so many different people were coming through, or even when you have cultivated your own vibe, you still have a lot of different personalities, different needs, different ideas, especially when people start to get close to you. They'll offer suggestions, or like, oh, you should do this, I would love this, you should do extensions,
Mm-hmm.
like all these different things that come up. And that can also be kind of what's the word, like, not maybe distracting, but like it sometimes, if you're not clear about what you're doing, then it's easier to get distracted by all of those other suggestions. But when you have a really clear path of like, yep, extensions are great, but not for me, this is what I do,
Mm-hmm.
otherwise there's so many different ways to pivot and turn in beauty, that
Mm-hmm.
there's like never ending possibilities. And everyone's gonna, like, they watch an Instagram video and they're like, you should do rainbow unicorn hair because
Right.
I love this and my daughter would love this. And
Mm-hmm.
like, and I think if probably a lot of us are curious about a lot of different aspects too, so it's
Mm-hmm.
easy to, for me, it's easy to be like, yeah, I should totally do that.
Right. Well,
But
and I think too, it's people. It goes back to the scarcity mindset. I think often stylists think that if they niche down, it's gonna close off opportunities, when it's actually the complete opposite of that. It actually opens up opportunities, because if you establish yourself as an expert in whatever it is that you're passionate about, then you're the expert in that field, and that's what people are going to come to you for. Like, I really enjoy doing vivid hair color on models on days where they're my only client and I come in the salon to just do them, and then it's really fun for me because it's playing. But that's not what I want in my day-to-day salon life. It's too stressful for me because it's not something that I excel at, right? Where, like, I have coworkers that's their forte and they would do it all day long. Where me, it's like maybe once a quarter, twice a year, I like to do it,
that's
but blondes and extensions, like, all day long, give it to me,
yeah.
you know?
Well, and you so beautifully just articulated that, and it's so clear, and it's just like, oh, it's not, it's not like making any of that something like that it's uninteresting to you. It's just, yeah, it's ease. There's ease. Yeah. You can
Mm-hmm.
create ease for yourself by determining those, just, it's not even a boundary, it's just desires.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's so inspiring. I'm like, I'm just gonna clean up all of my gonna write out all of my new boundaries today.
Yes, it's so true. And it's about protecting your energy, and having boundaries doesn't mean that you're closed off to people.
Mm-hmm.
Having boundaries doesn't mean that it's not a negative thing.
Yeah.
You know, you're protecting yourself so that you can give the best of yourself.
It is a generous, it is a generous act. And what, what makes, how do you help people identify when they need a boundary?
Well, I think it's, it goes back to when we were talking about triggers, like what are the things that are stirring up stressful moments in you? And so it's kind of identifying what those are. And often it's because you haven't set a boundary around it. It's like if every time your phone goes off and it's a client, and I'm just using this as an example, and you get like angry that the client's texting you or messaging you or DMing you on Instagram, who are you angry at? Are you angry at them because they're messaging you? Or are you angry at yourself because you haven't set a clear boundary about when you want them to communicate with you or how you want them to communicate with you? And it's interesting because prior to COVID, I never gave out my personal cell phone number. Never. I work at a salon. We have a front desk. All my bookings, everything goes through the salon. So unless there was a specific reason for me to be communicating with a client outside of that, they had access to me through email or Instagram or whatever, but my personal cell phone, nobody had, because that was a boundary for me, because I didn't want to be texting people about appointments. That's why I work at a salon where we have front desk management, right? And then after COVID, that was something that I had to shift because we were at home on lockdown, rescheduling all of our own appointments. And I was very clear with my clients after that point, because now everybody has my phone number, which is awesome, and it's great. And my boundary with them was, I said, look, you can text me, call me, DM me, email me 24/7. But what I'll tell you is that I'll respond within 24 to 48 hours. So my phone may go off at midnight, but my notifications are turned off. And so I'll respond when it's an appropriate time for me to respond. And so that, for me, just creating that boundary, I don't get stressed when someone texts me.
Yeah. And then they're not stressed because they're not like, she didn't respond 2 hours later.
Right. Or they're not worried. And because I'm that way, like if I think of something, I have to do it in the moment, because if I don't, I'm on to the next thing and I might not do it. And so I know that a lot of people in this day, in this day and age are like that. So I'm like, as soon as you think of it, text me and I'll get back to you when I can. So that way they're not feeling guilty of like, oh, should I be texting her this late? I'm like, no, it doesn't matter. But just so you know, I'll get back to you probably the next day.
Yeah, I love that. That does, it feels really clean, like very clean, energetic exchanges. And I think that's really helpful for everybody. What do you think, what are like 3 good qualities of a coach? Can we talk about what makes a good coach?
Yeah, I think what makes a good coach, that's definitely it could be like a multi-layered. So, so we could talk for a long time about this, but I think that is one of them. Having clear boundaries is one of them, because that allows the person you're coaching to, kind of do some learning on their own. Being a coach isn't giving someone all the answers, but it's about guiding them to find the right answers.
Yeah.
So like part of my coaching program, we talk about nutrition, we talk about fitness and well-being. I am very upfront. I am not a nutritionist. I'm not a personal trainer. I am not a physical therapist. But what I can do is tell you my journey in those 3 areas. And I can help guide you to find the right fit for you. Because in the same breath, like what works for me probably isn't what's going to work for you. So me telling you what I do, it's helpful for you to learn how it came to that. But what I do doesn't matter because it doesn't work for you. But I can help you find what works for you. So that's one thing. And then I think, kind of along those same lines, it's empowering people, but not enabling them. So it's, like you want to teach people that they can do this on their own. So it's finding a balance of, helping people find their triggers, find their pain points, find where they might have holes in their boundaries and help them build those up so that they can eventually kind of do that on their own without having to like come for all the answers every time.
Yeah,
You
that's
know?
like when you were mirroring the client too,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of the same of like almost permission to, yeah, there's something really comforting about that.
Yeah. And then I think it's kind of what you were saying before, just holding space for people. And again, you know, I've had a lot of years of experience, and I think that my experience for me personally and also what I've observed is very powerful. But again, that doesn't mean it's that person's path. So it's finding a balance of, you know, to be a good coach, of sharing your journey, but leaving space for the person to have their own journey. So it's about holding space for people.
Mm. Yeah. And using your experience to to better other people's paths. I think I get really excited about that, of like, you don't have to have had the best path. Like that sometimes having the harder path means you have more experience to guide.
Yeah. Oh, I got to read this quote. I literally took a screenshot of it this morning and I was like, yes. And you just, oh my gosh, where is it? I have to get this because it's more eloquent than I can repeat it. Oh, I love it. It says, the real trip is when you realize that every one of your mistakes, failures, and F ups are all part of the plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, what's the best way to learn color correction? Mess up someone's color and then have to fix it. Right? Like,
yes. Oh my God.
you know, it's scary and it's uncomfortable, but like, if you've never turned someone's hair blue by accident, guess what? You don't know how to fix it.
Yeah, and it's so gratifying.
You know?
Like color corrections are one of my favorite things now because the process feels so good. It's like
Mm-hmm.
the transformation aspect,
Absolutely.
like the accomplishment. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, you can study color theory all day long. And don't get me wrong, it's important. You have to study color theory. I'm not saying skip color theory. You have to study it. But actually doing it, like actually getting your hands in it, that's how you learn.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. That's so beautiful, and there's so much peace in that too, of knowing that like the things that the experiences that we have all collected on our journeys, or I mean, like you said, you added all these other subjects into your coaching because it's all relevant. I keep
Mm-hmm.
telling people that are afraid to be mentors, with Hair Voyage, they're like, well, I'm not a coach, and as we say, and a lot of people have these interdisciplinary interests, like you were
Mm-hmm.
just saying too, with athletics, and just it's all relevant because hair is attached to a human, so
Yep.
literally everything is relevant.
It's so true.
Anything you're interested in is available in the beauty industry along with these services, and that's what's so exciting to me because it's so vast. But I think, yeah, like being able to help people understand that the experiences that you've had, bad, good, challenging, exciting, those are all going to be so important for somebody else. And so just being able to like learn to share your story, which I think you're
Mm-hmm.
really good at, since I think is either your first or second episode about really personal parts of your story. And I think that's also probably a quality of a good coach, is being able to be transparent about, and I don't know if it's transparent, but just being able to be seen yourself,
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
that helps people trust you.
Absolutely. And I think it's, you know, sharing what you've gone through, whether it's in your personal life or, you know, specifically in the salon behind the chair as a stylist. It's not like this self-gratifying look at me, but it's more like, hey, I've been there too. You
Mm,
know, it's okay.
I think that's a huge really important point. It's actually come up a couple of times in the last week with different beauty professionals that I've talked to, even being on Instagram, with people, the communication about saying, this is what I want to share, and then they get caught up in not wanting to come off as communicating, I'm so awesome, or whatever.
Right, right.
Whatever that is, that intimidation factor of like not wanting to be judged for being arrogant, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the difference in the communication is? I mean, like, I know authenticity, but like, how do we even like kind of categorize, or not categorize authenticity, but like, how could you help people lean into just being able to share rather than worrying about coming off a certain way, I guess?
This is another subject that I think we could like jam out on for
Yeah,
hours
you
because
have forever.
it's so there's so many layers to it, you know. And I think authenticity is a big one that comes up. And at the root of it, like authenticity is just doing things that you believe in.
Mm,
It's just being you and not putting on a show, not putting on, I'm going to come back to that point, not putting on, you know, someone else's demeanor or characteristics or like how you think you should be or this or that. And I think that um, it is challenging, and the real answer is a lot of self work.
mm,
You
yeah.
know, it's really like getting down to the nitty gritty of like being comfortable with yourself, like really spending time alone, like really liking yourself. And I think that that is a really hard thing for a lot of people. And I can say that because I've been there. You
Yeah.
know, like I was in the place for many years where I didn't like myself. And so I would do things to cover it up or to whatever, you know, whether it's like from, you know, wearing makeup to drinking alcohol or whatever, like all these different things that I think society normalizes um, to kind of dull who you actually are. And it's not till you strip all that away and sit in the uncomfortable, raw moments with yourself
Mm,
that then you can show up authentically.
yeah.
And so it's tough. It's a lot of hard work. And I don't think there's any one answer for any, there's not a generalized answer,
Yeah.
unfortunately, for people. But I think like the root of authenticity is like not saying things you don't believe in.
Yeah. I think that's a really good check-ins to just ask, like, do I believe in this? And all of those things that you just said are just helpful to, yeah, just check in when you're worried about that. You can just use those tools to reflect. And,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
most of the time, I think, right off the bat, if you're being weird or if it's true for you.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. And I think that, you know, again, talking about when like Instagram and a lot of hairstylists like really popped off, like a lot of early adapters to Instagram who were just on there sharing, they really popped off. And there was a lot of personalities. And I remember back in 2012, like watching these people and I was like, oh, they're so this or oh, they're so that. And I was like, what am I really mad about?
Mm.
What am I really mad about? They're showing up and they're doing it. And how do I know if that's authentic to him or not? I don't know him.
Mm.
What
Yeah.
am I mad about? And then what was I mad about was I was mad about the fact that he was showing up and doing it and I was too scared to do it.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And it wasn't until I acknowledged that and was like, okay, I'm not mad at him or her or, you know, whatever. Like, I'm mad at myself for
Mm-hmm.
not doing that. And so, how do I shift that?
Yeah. I love that tool of using jealousy or um, criticism when a critic starts to show up of just being like, oh, this is just telling me something that this is something I also desire. And then
Mm-hmm.
turning and going even taking it a step further of realizing I can have this if like that person is showing me that this is available to me in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of it being about them and what they did in their life, it's just another thing that you're realizing, I get to claim this desire.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love that.
So helpful.
It's so powerful. It is, but it's hard to say that, right? Like it's hard to say, why am I having these uncomfortable feelings? Like it's easier just to say, oh, they're stupid. Oh, they're
Yeah,
fake. Oh, they're this. It's easier.
because then you don't have to be accountable for anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to be accountable for anything. You can just blame it on everyone else. It's harder. It's harder to do the work,
That's
but
I mean, in the moment it's harder, but then I think the long term it's
it
harder.
feels so much better.
The long term it's harder to be stuck and
Yeah.
do the work.
Yeah.
So,
And to your point, like that's why it is important to have coaches and to have mentors and to have people that do hold you accountable and do say like, hey, why is that bothering you so much, or why, whatever it may be. And my therapist, my mental health guru that I talk about and share about, one of the things that she talks about is the spiral of life, and how a lot of times, she'll be working with someone and they'll be like, oh, why is this coming up again? Like, why am I having a struggle with this issue again? And it's like, well, look at the spiral. Like life is this eternal spiral. And so things are going to keep coming up, one, until you've dealt with them. But two, they'll keep coming up, and perhaps the tools you have to deal with them are differently. And so that can be related to anything. Like it can be related to challenging conversations, relationships, personal or professional, or even like, situations that sit in your chair. Like the first time a pixie cut or a double process sat in your chair, it's like you're pooping your pants because you're freaking out about doing it.
yeah.
And every time your toolbox gets bigger and bigger. And so every time, that challenging situation sits in your chair, it gets easier and easier. And so it still may make you nervous. And if I'm being quite honest, you still should get nervous. I still get nervous when I have new clients. Like if you have a new client and you're just like, oh, I got this, like whatever. Like I still get nervous. Like, oh, is that the right placement? Oh, is that the right glaze? Did I put 5 mils too much of this? Because if you're not still having that, then that means you don't have any skin in the game. Like that means you don't care.
Yeah.
And the real secret about our industry is you have to care. Like you have to care about your clients at the end of the day. And if you don't, if you're still not getting, and look, you should be confident in your skills, but there should be like a little twinge of like, oh, I hope I did that right. So it's like you have the confidence in your skills, but I just want to make sure that that person's totally happy.
I love that you say that, because I think it's just like that mentality we were talking about earlier, of like getting to this place of like, when will I arrive? And I think it's so important that actually not arriving makes you better, or like being, because when you arrive, like you said, you've checked out.
Oh, absolutely.
And yeah, that's a really really important reason to have a coach too. It's so easy to get burnt out emotionally and still care about the craft, or maybe care about the people but not the craft. Like I've seen a lot of people be in one foot or the other. And the beauty happens when both are in alignment, and you need support to maintain that sometimes. And it can just be in different seasons, right? Like you could have really good Christmas season, and then by summer you're, I don't know, burnout happens for such vastly different reasons.
Oh, absolutely.
And it creeps up. So sometimes you need someone to tell you, this sounds like burnout.
Yeah, no, it's true. And what we do, we give so much. We give so much, and you can't discount that in the toll that it takes on you. And so that's why, a lot of the things that I coach are around mindset, daily habits, different strategies for how you deal with you when you have challenging things going on in your life, right? Because we give so much that if you don't have things in place to protect yourself, your burnout is going to happen at a much faster rate.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to have the tools to come out of it. And I do think that is probably one of the main challenges that our industry faces.
Yeah. And burnout, when you are in major burnout, it's like you can't even, it's harder to even reach out to find support at that point. So that's why it's like building that into your like having support before you even get to burnt out, because even when you have
Mm-hmm.
support, you may still get there.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, like being able to find that, it's like with mental health and
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
I mean, it is.
We're right in line. It's so true,
Health.
right? You go to your primary care doctor once a year for a physical, right? Make sure everything's running.
Yeah.
And, we were just talking about that with mental health. I believe there should be that same kind of check-in for mental health, that when you're at a good place, you're checking in. And, any area of your life where you want to thrive. I think that a lot of people look at coaching as like a luxury.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I would beg to differ. I would beg to differ, whether it's, in any avenue of your life where you want to not just get by, but you want to thrive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it creates luxury. I think that's the difference.
Ooh, yes. That's
Yeah.
exactly it. I love that. It creates luxury.
I
It's
just
so true.
I just made this Instagram post on my personal page yesterday, and it was like my last trip to Seattle, I had these 3 juices from the Press Juicery, which I love.
I love fresh juicery.
We
Yes.
don't have them in Alaska, so whenever I go there, I'm just like obsessed. And they're so pretty and they're so good, and they're just so like, that was like a moment of luxury, and I had taken a picture of it. And now that we can't travel, I was just kind of reflecting of like, what is luxury? And right now in 2020, just feeling healthy is a luxury, and
Mm-hmm.
so I was kind of unpacking that word, and I think creating luxury for yourself is investing and being what's the opposite of preventative? Like I mean, I guess it is preventative, but it's proactive.
Proactive. Yeah. I was like, I'm not sure where I'm like,
It's,
react.
yeah, it's like being that creates luxury in your life to not be
Mm-hmm.
reactive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is so, even just thinking about that, it feels like ease. Like,
Yeah, it feels a lot lighter.
that's the goal.
Yeah. And I think, the goal for the industry would be, my grand vision, right? Because I have a background in communications and I have a master's certificate in business, my grand dream for the industry is to create a program that's like a 2 or 4 year school training, where it's like a bachelor's degree
Yeah.
of, right, where you not only learn the technical skills of doing hair, but you learn all of this stuff. Like, that's my ultimate dream for the industry.
Amazing.
I'm sure that we're like decades away from that, but this is my first little like chip in the bucket, like little drop in the bucket to start chipping away at that goal. Because there is so much to that. And so the goal for me would be that everyone who's starting in the industry came to the table with these skills. But that's not the reality of it, right? And so a lot of times I would love to be working with people who, they don't have any quote unquote bad habits. But the reality is some people are, years, sometimes decades into the industry when they realize that, they're, I hate to use the word eroding. That sounds so awful, but they're having challenges in their business and they can't identify why.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, but I have all these trainings. I have all these technical skills. Like and they're not wrong. Like, some of the best, most technically skilled stylists, their career could be suffering the most.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they don't have these other skills built in, and it's not their fault. They weren't taught them.
Yeah. Or
no one told them they were important.
yeah, or they were just so focused on building those technical skills that they
Mm-hmm.
didn't integrate all these other small steps along the way, or get the exposure to these other things, because they weren't, if you go into some extreme apprentice program, you're not doing behind the chair work as often, so you're not like doing client work, you're just shadowing someone else for the whole 5 years or whatever it is. There's so many different ways to make it happen. And yeah, it's so true. There's always an area that, yeah, that someone else can see.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of this design show that I'm in love with on Netflix, but I can't ever remember the name of it, but it I'll send it to you when I find it.
Yeah.
It when I watched this show, I binge watched the whole thing, and it's
Mm-hmm.
about all different types of design. So they have interior design, car design, shoe design, and it's a mini doc series. So
Oh, cool.
episode is a different type of designer, and they talk about how design impacts humans, basically. And they had stage design, set design, museum designers, and I was like, how do we not have a hair and makeup person here?
Yeah.
How is this?
That's
And
crazy.
so that whole show inspired me, and I also want us to have a university where we, like, when you think about those people, interior design, they don't
Mm-hmm.
take pottery, they take all this stuff, they take all these things that are design basics and integrate it
Mm-hmm.
into this thing, right? And when you listen to the way that they speak about how design impacts, like, they talk about having empathy for your client. And so when they create a room, they sit and think about how the client's going to experience it. We
Mm-hmm.
do that every day, every minute,
Mm-hmm.
we're so in depth, and yet we don't speak about it in this way of this established art. But what was so interesting is that they said interior design used to be seen in the design world as silly until, like, things like IKEA and stuff started really, until the consumer started valuing it. And then
Mm-hmm.
in the design world, it really took off. And I think that that's where we're headed too.
Yeah.
With Instagram, the consumer has started to care about beauty more,
Mm-hmm.
more than ever.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
so we are gonna have this university, and I can't wait to be a part of your.
Yeah, I'm excited. And I do think that there's so much opportunity for growth, and there's so much of that opportunity. And it's our role, or dare I say it's our duty, to show that to other stylists, to show that to the consumer, to show the value, and one of the things I always say, like, people might not appreciate a good haircut till they've had a bad one.
Yeah, yeah,
you
absolutely.
know um or
Or
speaking
until
about
the
pricing,
stylist
like,
moves away. Yeah.
yeah, um I mean, yeah, I've had people travel across the country, or come from other countries. Like, I've had clients living in other parts of the world, and they'll fly home twice a year to get their hair done because they refuse to do it anywhere else, or if they had it done there and refuse to do it again.
Yeah.
There's a real value in that, and I think that it's about owning that and embracing it and building each other up, because it's not a, oh, I'm so amazing, look at me. It's a, we all rise together as an industry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes me so excited. I think, yeah, and just watching, and that moment when they talked about interior design having that shift, and knowing that a different industry, because I remember even just kind of the facade of design, when I think back to design shows when I was a kid or a teenager watching them on TV, it was definitely, there was like a less serious
Mm-hmm.
portrayal of
Mm-hmm.
them. And now, that, I mean, obviously we have that wound in beauty too, where it's a constant, like, yeah, just a catch 22.
Well, there's that whole beauty school dropout,
Mm-hmm.
right? What was that movie, Grease? Like, there's a whole song about it in Grease, beauty school dropout.
Yeah.
And I experienced resistance within the industry,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I have a bachelor's degree in communications, and worked for a little bit, and then decided to go to hair school. And I remember hairstylists saying, like, what are you doing? You have a college degree. Why would you do hair?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
People who were in the industry.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you kidding? Like,
Yeah.
there's so much possibility in this industry. Oh, sorry. There's so much possibility. I'm getting excited.
I know.
So much possibility. And endless opportunities. And that is what it is. And so, like I said before, like, I dare say it's our responsibility on the individual level to elevate our craft, to elevate our industry.
Mm,
And those are the ripples that are going to make waves and that are going to make change.
yeah. I remember
um
a client saying, I was telling a client that I couldn't, that my schedule had changed because I was going to university on these other days that she was normally
mhm.
going. And she was like, wow, that's so great. Most people don't do that in your field. And I was just like, what?
Yeah.
What kind of it was like a backhanded compliment. Like, it was just so back
Mhm.
that she was like, how great of you to, like, it was just so weird. It was just so weird.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. And I a couple years ago went back to school. I think I told you to get my master's certificate in business. And it was interesting because a lot, and my clients are amazing and, super supportive, but a lot of them asked me, like, so wait, what are you going to do? Like, you're leaving, right? You're leaving. What are you going to do? And I was like, no, I'm not leaving. you know,
Yeah.
like, it, but it's rare in the industry to pursue an education outside of technical training and still want to continue
Mm-hmm.
doing what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that there's avenues and ways for us to continue doing what we're doing and serve our clients, because I'm guessing, just based upon our conversations, that you love that as much as I do. I never don't want to work behind the chair, because I'm so passionate about it and I love it so much. But I do think there's so many opportunities to keep elevating the industry and bring other opportunities. And so that's why I was so excited when I connected with you on Instagram, because I think what you're doing is so exciting and so awesome. And that was one of the questions I asked you, because you're like, oh, I have this startup. And I'm like, oh, well, what's your background?
Yeah.
You're like, I'm a hairstylist.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that come in from other industries to try to start something,
Mm.
in an industry that's not necessarily their background. And quite frankly, I think it's best if it is hairstylist, because we know the industry.
Yeah. It was so funny. I was reflecting on that question that you asked me before we got on the call this morning. And I was like, oh, that's so funny. That is actually part of where my journey has so many little aha moments. So I feel like I'm still trying to get clear about how it all strung together.
Yeah.
Part of it was that I was trying to build an interdisciplinary studies degree because I was in college and I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to go to hair school, and then I was going to do this and all these. I wanted to be an artist. And so I knew what I wanted, which classes I wanted to take. And there was a lot of pushback of trying to create that degree, but it was a lot of my clients had, not a lot, but only a few of my really great now friend clients had built interdisciplinary studies degrees. And so they were
Mm-hmm.
like, you're so clear about what you want to do, you can do this. And that's how I started even learning about that word, and that's become one of my favorite words. I say it all the time because that is what hairdressers and artists and beauty professionals are. We are so interdisciplinary, and so it's like that's kind of how Hair Voyage was born, is that the more market research we started doing, and there's people that knit during their they teach their clients how to knit, and that's like a little side biz. And then there's people doing coaching and athletics, and it was just like we said earlier, it's all connected, it's all relevant, it's all connected to the human. And
Mm-hmm.
you can create that expansion, but support is like the key.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I was going to try to add to it, but I think you kind of said it perfectly.
But I
I'll
wanted to
just,
say thank you for asking me that, because it caused me to like reflect, and I totally was blinded by my own story until you had said that. But yeah, there it is.
there it is.
I am so glad and so excited that we got to learn from you. And how can people learn more from you, and where would you like them to reach out to you?
Yeah, thank you so much. So you can find me on Instagram at The Real Alexandra Show. And you can shoot me a DM or whatever you like on there. And then you can also find me on my website at www.thealexandrashow.com. And there is information about my upcoming course offerings and coaching.
Yeah.
And yeah, don't be shy. Reach out. Any questions are welcome.
I'm so excited about your course, and I'm so excited for anyone that gets to work with you in coaching as well, because you just have such a great presence and so much knowledge. So thank you for sharing that with us today.
No, thank you so much for having me. Like I said, I was so excited when I learned about what you were doing, and it's just so awesome meeting other people in this industry that have such an incredible passion. And I think it's the wave of the future. So I'm really excited to be on this journey with you. I'm glad we connected.